Hey, I'm not going to take too much time. I just wanted to encourage you a little bit today. Did you know that God sees your tears? Did you know that? Did you know that He counts every tear that you cry? That He's compassionate? That He's moved by you? I was reading and I stumbled upon some verses that prove that God sees you. He really does. He sees you when you're hurting. He sees you when you're in pain. So I wanted to read Genesis chapter 16 from verse 1 all the way to verse 13. And this is what it says. Now Sarai, Abraham's wife, had borne him no children, but she had an Egyptian slave named Hagar. So she said to Abraham, "The Lord has kept me from having children. Go sleep with my slave. Perhaps I can build a family through her." Abraham agreed to do what Sarah said. So after Abraham had been living in Canaan 10 years, Sarai, his wife, took her Egyptian slave Hagar and gave her to her husband to be his wife. He slept with Hagar, and she conceived. When she knew she was pregnant, she began to despise her mistress. Then Sarai said to Abraham, "You are responsible for the wrong I am suffering. I put my slave in your arms, and now that she knows that she's pregnant, she despises me. May the Lord judge between you and me." "Your slave is in your hands," Abraham said. "Do with her what you think is best." Then Sarai mistreated Hagar. So Hagar fled from her. The angel of the Lord found Hagar near a spring in the desert. And he said, "Hagar, slave of Sarai, where have you come from, and where are you going?" "I'm running away from my mistress Sarai," she answered. Then the angel of the Lord told her, "Go back to your mistress and submit to her." The angel added, "I will increase your descendants, so much that they too will be too numerous to count." The angel of the Lord also said to her, "You are now pregnant. You'll give birth to a son. You shall name him Ishmael, for the Lord has heard of your misery." For the Lord has heard of your misery. She gave this name to the Lord who spoke to her. "You are the God who sees me." You are the God who sees me. For she said, "I have now seen the one who sees me." I want to go to another example of how the Lord shows his compassion when he sees his own in disarray. Isaiah 38 verse 9. And this one's my favorite. King Hezekiah is about to die. And the prophet Isaiah goes to Hezekiah and tells him, "Get your house in order because you're about to die." And after Isaiah says what the Spirit of the Lord has told him to say, he leaves. And Hezekiah is in his bed, and he turns his face to the wall, and he cries. Isaiah 38 verse 1. So we're going to read Isaiah 38 verse 1. And it says, "In those days was Hezekiah sick unto death. And Isaiah the prophet, the son of Amos, came unto him, and said unto him, Thus saith the Lord, Set your house in order, for thou shalt die and not live. Then Hezekiah turned his face towards the wall, and he prayed unto the Lord, and said, Remember now, O Lord, I beseech you, how I have walked before you in truth and with a perfect heart, and have done that which is good in your sight." And it says, "And Hezekiah wept sore." Hezekiah wept sore. Verse 4. Then came the word of the Lord to Isaiah, saying, Go and say to Hezekiah, Thus saith the Lord, the God of David your father, I have heard your prayer. I have seen your tears. Do you see that? I have heard your prayer. I have seen your tears. Behold, because I have heard your prayer, and because I have seen your tears, I will add unto your days 15 years. I will add unto your days 15 years. And I will deliver you and this city out of the hand of the king of Assyria, and I will defend this city. Do you see that? God saw his tears and heard his prayers, and because of that, he responded to him and added to him 15 years. What kind of tears are you shedding today that God sees, that no one else can see? What kind of prayer have you prayed? He's the God who sees me. He sees you. Psalms 56, verse 8. Read the full Psalms, but I want to show you something. Verse 8 says, You keep track of all of my sorrows. You keep track of all of my sorrows. You have collected my tears in a bottle. You, the creator of the universe, the Lord of hosts, the great I am, El Gibor, the one who fights for us. You have kept track of all of my sorrows. You have collected my tears in your bottle. You have recorded each one in your book. My sorrows, my tears. You've recorded each one in your book. Do you see that? Psalms 56, verse 8. You keep track of all my sorrows. You have collected my tears in a bottle. You have recorded each one in your book. He sees you. He sees the pain. The theme that I see for many of them, many of the verses that I've read, King Hezekiah, King David, is that in the midst of their crying, in the midst of their sorrow, in the midst of their pain, they acknowledged God. They called out to him. And even in the midst of their pain and calling out to him, the Spirit of the Lord responded to them. He was moved with compassion. The Lord of hosts doesn't like to see his children suffer. I want to go to one last one. Matthew 14th chapter, 14th verse. When Jesus landed and saw a large crowd, he had compassion on them and healed their sick. Do you see that? Verse 14, that says Matthew chapter 14, verse 14. When Jesus landed and saw a large crowd, he had compassion on them and healed their sick. He had compassion on them and healed their sick. And he was moved to compassion because this large crowd sought him. They sought him, and he had compassion for them, and he healed their sick. So if you don't hear anything else I tell you today, I want you to know that the Lord of hosts is moved by you. Your tears and your sorrows are written down in a book. He keeps count of all of your sorrows. He keeps count of all of your tears. None of it is wasted. And as a result, he is moved with compassion. He's moved with compassion to answer you when you call him. That's all I wanted to say. It's an impromptu moment. You're not alone. You're not by yourself in your sorrow and your pain. The Lord of hosts is right there with you. Call on him and he will answer you.